Hello, and welcome to Why I Love Warhammer, the series where I go into an unscripted ramble about why I love something in this hobby. And on this episode, it's the Imperial Knights. This is a faction short version I love because they are clean cut versions of the army I'd take to tournaments. Um, they are giant suits of guns and weapons and armor, and for someone who's 5'5", that's a nice escapism for me. So let's just go through some of these models that I just think are phenomenal. I love the lore with the Imperial Knights. I love how hard it is to actually become one. It's not just if you're piloting an Imperial Knight, right? You're not just some rich prince born into a noble house. I mean, you are, but if you fail to bond with the machine spirit, that's it. You're done. Gonzo. Bye. And there's something dark about that. But also, they do look cool, and they've got that sense of believability about them. You can feel like these things will walk across the battlefield, and when they've got massive guns, that helps. That helps with their intimidation. I love this giant plasma gun this one's got here. I love the other gun it's got. I love the shoulder weapons. So this is the Knight Valiant. I just think it's a really awesome model. I love the helm it's got on its face. It's a beautiful model, and it's all those flat panels give you a chance to really paint your own stuff into them. Really gives you that chance to flex. And it's easy to think that with a model this big, it's not going to be as detailed, but it is just as detailed as the more miniatures, and it's incredible for that. They're really fun kits to build as well. And yeah, they're pretty well balanced as well. Like, they don't topple. I mean, mind you, because I put watch batteries underneath the base to put an LED light in. But if you build them as per the instruction manual, they're very sturdy models and they fit well. And I do feel like in concept they're quite well balanced. You've got fewer bodies on the table, so you're not holding as many objectives, but you are still dealing out a lot of damage. So they feel balanced in concept. There's another one, one of the many builds from this same sculpt. For Chaos, this is just the Despoiler, but there's like different there's different builds. Canis Rex, I think, is what it will say on the box. But the chainsword and gun here, I think, is brilliant. I love the double gun nature of it. It just feels like you got a lot more going for it. And then with the Armigers, I love these guys. I love the chainsword and flamer combo. I just think they're quite nice. Those chicken walkers, they're about yay big in real life. Yeah, about like 6-7 inches tall, lips to eyebrows for me. And yeah, they work quite well. They're strong. They've got a good mixed approach. Can do melee and range decently. And I always love flamers, both how terrifying they'd be in real life, and also for the rules with the fact that you just roll to hit. You roll the hits, and it hits. So yeah, flamers in Overwatch, glorious. But yeah, I think these guys look really cool. I love the little top chassis guns they've got as well. In fact, with mine, I actually keep the instruction manuals in the box so that I've got the exact weapons there and there, kind of there in front of me. Because I'm not so good personally at being able to tell the difference between a melter gun and a demon breath gun or this gun just from looking at them. Like, I can tell a flamer from not a flamer, and the bolt weapons I can kind of tell, but for a lot of the time, I'm looking through reference pictures. I'm hoping I'm not alone in that I've got to look through reference pictures. So having those with me when I've got my knights, it just means I can play WYSIWYG, or what you see and what you get. WYSIWYG is something that, so yeah, everyone's got a kind of standard that they have for gaming, and as much as possible, I will hold myself to WYSIWYG. But if my opponent wants to use an ashtray as a tank and a mug as their HQ unit, that's fine as long as it's consistent. My opponent can proxy as much as they need to for a fun, balanced game, but I do try and hold myself to WYSIWYG as much as I can. I mean, some exceptions for like weirdly niche war gear, but where I kind of like to go WYSIWYG, so Imperial Knights, I do try and go WYSIWYG for mine. WYSIWYG tangent there. It's just really fun to say WYSIWYG. But yeah, I like these armigers. I just think they're cool little chicken walkers. Another one of these large. These ones are huge. They're like these used to be the biggest non-Forge World knights before they brought in the Cerastus knights into the range, and I think that's just a really cool one. I love that harpoon weapon. That's a fun one to build. Just the harpoon is fun to build. And again, the triple flamer, glorious model. And again, all the side weapons I think are brilliant. It looks noble. I think that's really key with this. They look noble. They look like you put them on the field, and you doff cap tug forelock to them. These guys, they just convey that deep sense of reverence. And I love that for the Imperial Knights. This one, again, it's the Canis Rex box. Chainsword and big flame gun. Glorious. The chainswords are such... chainswords for me, and chain weapons, are the summary of 40k. They're advanced sci-fi, unnecessarily dark, but also weirdly medieval. And the flamers, again, I think it's my favourite type of gun in the setting. For just kind of how messed up they are, but also how powerful they are. This is a brilliant model, and I love every variation of the build. Speaking of the Canis Rex itself, this is the only model actually this is the only weapon loadout that this kit can provide that you can't play as Chaos Knights. So this to me feels like the most Imperial Knight of the Imperial Knights. I love the hands. They're fun. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love building the hands because you can pose the fingers and thumb however you like. And so if you want to have your knight flipping the bird, you can do that. For the last one I did, I gave it like a magician sleight of hand, as if it's hiding something in there. It was just like a nice little touch for me. As far as gameplay is concerned, it's the hand. It has the hand stat line. You don't get like a plus. You don't get like a negative. You don't like inflict a negative check, a negative modifier on your opponent's morale check if they're if it's swearing in someone's native language. It's just a hand. So pose it however you like because that's something for you. That's personal to you. And the gun I think is really cool on this model. It feels so futuristic and sci-fi to me in a way that the other weapons don't. It's just different. And that difference is neat. I also like when you can open up the lids for the knights, because what you paint inside, like most people aren't going to see more than what you can see in this picture here. Just like a little bit of a head. So however you paint the body or the inside of that cockpit, again, that's something special for you. The knights, for as big as they are, almost feel like the most intimate army, because you can paint in these details, sculpt in these details that are only for you. And you can feel attached to them for that. This is the most extra build for this one. It's got the Gatling gun, the big launcher, huge weapon on the back. Like, I know there's kind of spindly guns, but they feel big, and I look like I'm doing an impression of an insect here. But they feel big, and so it just adds to the scale of the model. And the scale of an Imperial Knight is so important. You're playing as the giant mech suits. You want them to feel like giant mech suits. Again, they've got the missile pod at the top, that's my favourite part of this variation. The hands are cool, the chainswords are cool, but the the missiles at the top that I think are just phenomenal chassis weapons. Another one, missiles at the top, Gatling gun, hand. One thing that I think is neat with the Imperial Knights as well is that they've got a stat line. It seems like they have a stat line for every combination of weapons you could give this sculpt, this kit. Which means if you're trying to play like as maximally as you can just field a lot more Imperial Knights. And that's interesting to me, and I think that's quite cool. These War Dogs, the Helgrins, I think these ones are really cool. I love the double guns on them. I use one of these in my 1,000 point list because they're just real powerhouses. Real powerhouses. You get a lot more firepower out of these guys than you'd imagine, and they're glorious for that. I'd happily run as many of these as I am allowed to in the confines of the game. Brilliant models. Phenomenal. Love having these guys in the game. Love having these guys in my lists. The Cerastus Knight Lancer. I didn't put in every Cerastus Knight variant in this because you swap out the war gear. But I think this is just a really cool model. I love that lance. It just feels really noble. I love the shield. I wanted to put some kind of film in mind to kind of make it feel more like an energy weapon. I didn't get around to it in the end, but it's something that I thought would be really cool, and it's just a really cool sculpt. And again, it's like one step taller than any of the other knights, and just one step more intimidating. Glorious model. Love this thing. Oh, I did include the others, but yeah, sword and gun here I think is great, and then similarly chainsword and flamer. This is the one where I really want the war gear most because I love the flame weapon. I think it just looks amazing as a sculpt. This is a terrain piece that goes in their list, which I find interesting. I think it's also interesting that it does have it can give buffs and stuff to your knights. It's an interesting platform, and it's different. It means that it's not. This means that it's not going to look so much like a mirror match every time, unless you're both running one, obviously. But it's that little bit of range, something a little bit different that just really rounds out the faction to me. Okay, this is the last one. I think it's called the Magira or something, but I think it's really cool. I love the claw. I think that's just brilliant. It looks like a claw machine, but of course it's gonna be more reliable than claw machines. I think it's just a really cool model, and yeah, I hope it'd be nice if it were in plastic, but I'm not gonna fault the design of it. I think it's a really cool model. I love the face plate for it. I love the weaponry on it. Glorious model. So that kind of brings us to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Current question of the day is, which army do you find is like the most personal to a player or to yourself? What's the most personal army? And if you want to drop this video a like, I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe for more unbridled positivity about the hobby, and I've got a link to a Patreon in the description if you want to support me on that. Thank you very much for joining me, and until next time, I hope you have a really good day.